Welcome, fans, to episode 5 of our 2023 Rangers Ed Rivalry Tour. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I'm here with my co hosts, Little Ed and Coach Ed, and our producer, Mikey Produces. What's up, boys?
How we doing? I'm
What's
excited
up?
for this one. We've never done the Capitals before. So what is this, the third year we're doing this? And we
Yeah.
added the Capitals this year.
Yeah, I'm excited. We get to talk a little Alex Ovechkin. We're going to head to the nation's capital and talk about Ovechkin and his chase
Why?
of
Why are there quotes? It is the nation's capital.
I just because I'll be honest, I wrote that out and then it just felt corny while I was saying it, so I just improvised air quotes. I don't know.
He wanted to feel better about himself.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt corny. So we're gonna bring on a special guest from the Caps Chirp podcast, which is the official Washington Capitals podcast at the Hockey Podcast Network. You may have heard of the Hockey Podcast Network with our friend Neil Villapiano, who does the Devils on there. So we're going to bring on Caps Chirp to talk some Washington Capitals. But before we do that, Coach Ed just had a pretty big birthday. His 60th birthday just passed 11 days ago. 9 days ago was your party, Coach. So why don't you talk about your party a little bit?
Well, it was a great time. You guys, I put you right to work when you got off the plane. So Mike and Eddie were already there helping out here and there, and everybody contributed a lot. Kathy did a great job. Your sister Rihanna, my sister Jen, everybody really made it a day worth to remember. Kathy's friends were still talking about it like 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kathy did a great job with that casino thing. That was just such a cool, unique idea.
Yeah. And then the I don't even know what you call it. The appearance by Elvis.
Oh man, he's in.
Our boy Hansel just showed up with the Elvis costume on and just rocked it.
I never got an answer. Was that his costume, or did he have that with the DJ, or what was going on with that?
No, Kathy actually bought it for him.
No way.
Yeah, I died when Ed go over to Eddie and he goes, Little Ed, and he looks at me and goes, so did he just have that in his closet? I was just like,
it's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
I'm not going to lie. It took me about like 5 seconds to realize that was Hazen and not like someone just coming to do it.
Like someone hired?
Kathy We're playing blackjack or whatever, and Kathy comes running over. She goes, "Something's happening!" And
yeah. Everyone pay attention. Something's happening. Mike, how brutal were those chairs, though? The chair situation.
Yeah, we got it done though. 2 trips. That's all I needed.
So I just want to say, so this is what happened. I fly from Miami to New York for this party. I get in at I took the train. I get there I don't know, 4 hours of traveling. Whatever. I'm rolling my suitcase into the house, and before I even get in the house, Coach Ed goes, "You settled in yet?" And I'm like, "What? Like, what do you mean you settled in yet?" He's like, "I need you to go pick up some chairs from this guy's attic." Classic Coach Ed. And of course, it's his birthday, so what am I gonna do and say no? Hilarious, classic. But the party was awesome. So what Little Ed was talking about with the casino, there was like tents and people were, I guess, part of a company. They came in and they were the quote unquote dealers. There was a roulette table, a poker table, and a blackjack table. The poker table ended up turning into blackjack. Yeah, it did. But Ed, when you got to tell your story about blackjack, when I went all in and when you went all in, and what happened?
Well, full disclaimer, so Kathy doesn't get in trouble. We were not playing with real money. The company's legit, so we just play with fake. We actually had dollar bills with Coach Ed's face on it. So everyone got $500 worth of Coach Ed money for the casino. And then you got your fake chips, and then at the end you could turn in your chips in for raffle tickets for some prizes at the end. So yeah, the whole time we're playing blackjack at the party, starting to wind down or whatever, and Cousin Ed's like, "Come on, just go all in. Who cares? It's not even real money." I'm like, I will go all in, but there's an hour left to play. If I lose all my money now, then I have nothing to do for the next hour.
No, there was like a half hour left.
Whatever, yeah. So I kept racking up my money. I'm racking up my money. I'm like getting hot towards the last like half hour of the party. I ended up having like, what was it, $17.50 or something in chips.
Yeah.
So I put it all in on the last hand, and then the last hand I hit blackjack, and the dealer busted. So I
Oh, jeez.
ended the party with 3,500 fake chips.
You hit blackjack on the deal. You got like an ace
Yeah.
and a king or something.
Yeah, something pretty good. Yeah,
So like a few hands
that was a
before
lot of
that,
fun.
a few hands before that, I was down to like, of course I was down. I was down to like $300 in chips. And I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go all in. I go all in, and the dealer gets blackjack. On my side, when I go all in, the dealer got blackjack. So that's just goes to show you the luck right there.
Yeah,
That was a lot.
And I had a lot of great gifts. You know, anybody listening who was there, thank you so much. There is one gift that we can't figure out who gave it to me. There was no label on it, but I got this one right here. The doghouse, which will be posted every week when we have it.
You got to hold it up.
episode.
Hold it up closer.
yeah, bring it up
Can't see
closer.
it?
No. They
Yeah,
got to
fans,
see
head
who's
on
in
over
it.
to the YouTube and check this guy out. Fresh out of Little Ed's workshop. Oh, it's got a golf tee on it now.
Yeah, that's a mistake. It was on the kitchen table.
So each week now, Coach Ed's going to be able to actually put a player in the doghouse with a trading card. So look forward to that every week.
He's not going to have to change it very much.
No, I don't think so.
I started putting together the collection of all my doubles. So Coach Ed will have the full set of Ranger players, hopefully.
And then over here, I got, thanks to you guys, my cousin Anthony sent me a couple of gifts in the mail from Florida. Well, not from he's in Florida. They came from various collectible places. My boy Braden Schneider, number 4 autograph picture, and a number 45 autograph puck.
Wow, that's cool.
The puck's got to be from that's his rookie year then. So
yeah, I was very surprised about that. It was nice and
gotta get a frame.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna carve one out. I'm gonna whittle one out of one piece of wood.
Yeah. So the party was a great time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blast.
Thanks, you guys for everybody doing. It was great.
Yeah. No, it was a ton of fun.
The man, the myth, the legend, Coach Ed turned 60.
Yeah,
that was the theme.
I took some of the dollar bills back. I have a couple of them. I showed Fio
for next year.
She couldn't go, but she was like, "Oh my god, it's ridiculous."
It was such a good time. Such a good time.
Yeah, you just took them for next year in case we do it again, and you'll be able to use them again.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I wanted to show you. So this is the ring, by the way. See how it looks like yours, kind of?
Very similar, yeah.
It looks like just like it. So this was my dad's. I don't know. I thought maybe you guys both had them or something, but I guess not. But anyway,
so what do you say?
Maybe we'll post. Yeah, I think we should post those dollar bills for the fans though, because they're ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to post some pictures and stuff from the party. Put together a little reel for the Instagram.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring our guest on from the Caps Chirp podcast. Talk a little Washinton Capitals.
Do we have to?
The hockey troll from the Caps Chirp podcast. I love it, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, boys. Thanks for having me on. Happy birthday, Coach Ed.
Thank you.
You made it. All right. Good for you.
Yeah, man. So is that what we call you? Just the hockey troll, or are you staying anonymous?
Yeah, you can call me Hockey Troll, HT. You know, you got to stay on brand here, boys.
Fair enough. Okay.
Love it. Love it.
So how long have you been doing this with the Cap Chirp podcast?
Well, oh man, we're going on season 5. I think I did it like a year longer than that. And then we got about a year in, Dylan Kaiser from the Hockey Podcast Network reached out. This is back when THPN was just getting off the ground. So I guess we're OGs there. Me and one of my hosts, and then he dipped out, got another host, and we've just been doing it all 5 years. I did season 4 last year. My buddy Polly Cupcakes, he's my co-host. He's coming back this season. Big deal. But he had a kid last year, so he thought he couldn't handle getting drunk, really drunk every night. Doing every Sunday and talking shit about the hockey world. But yeah, so it's been 5 years. It's been a long time. THPN's really solid. A lot of good hosts. Get to hang out with guys like you, bringing me on and stuff. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, we got a good relationship with a few of the podcasts, especially Neil from Devil's State of Mind.
Oh yeah, beauty.
So yeah, we definitely have a good time doing this kind of thing. So yeah, so we definitely brought you on to talk some Capitals, maybe revisit some old rivalries.
Oh yeah.
I guess we'll get this out of the way quickly, or not quickly, but first the Ovechkin scoring race. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, I'm assuming you think he's going to do it, but so I guess the question is when.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got another season and a half, and I think that he's going to pad the record by double digits. So by the end of this contract, and then I don't put it past Leonsis to not sign him for another year after this contract's done. If he still feels good, he still wants to stay in the U.S., still wants to play in the NHL. The guy's a hero in the city. He's going to get whatever he wants. I'm not thinking he's going to get another $10 million a year on that last 1 year or 2 year deal. But if he still has it in the cards, I definitely think that ownership will give it to him. And obviously he's still got to be a viable player, but it's insane to think that he really hasn't slowed down. He's going to be 38. He'll be 40 by the time the contract ends. I mean, ageless wonder. It definitely helps that the Washington Capitals have built the offense a little bit around him, but you still got to be able to bury it from where he does, and totally impressive. So, knock on wood, barring any craziness, injury, wild stuff, I think that he crushes this record in about a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. I think last year I predicted he might be able to play till he's 50, Gordie Howe style, the physical condition he's in, and just keep going. If he just has fun playing, he might want to do it like Yager's still doing it, And him at 30 goals a season isn't unrealistic when he's 50. When he's 40, 42,
Yeah.
It's not an unrealistic expectation. 25 to 30 goals the way he shoots.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think he's got it. But who knows? He could break a leg. Unfortunately, I don't even want to put that out there. I don't even want to put that out there. I take
That's
that
a little
back.
rough for someone who's never been injured, Harley.
I know. So, but you're right. I mean, the guy's a freak of nature. When he came into the league, if you remember, I mean, he came in like red jeans and went and stomped everybody else out on the bench press and all the tests, and was just one of those guys, like a Joe Thornton kind of, just, I don't know, breeding stock on another level that us mere mortals, I guess, can really touch.
It's the Russian gas.
Yeah, exactly. Russian gas from birth, I guess.
I find it pretty impressive. Like you're saying, the durability of Ovechkin. He's been in the league since 2005. And I mean, his game is a physical game too. I mean, he's not like a perimeter player or anything. I mean, the guy plays physical. He's always involved around the net and etc. To me, it's just impressive, his career. And I mean, he's one of those guys, like we talked about this with the Penguins episode. Like Crosby, when he first came into the league, we didn't like Crosby. I don't know about Little Ed or Coach Ed. I won't speak for them. Or Mikey, but like I personally didn't like Ovechkin either, because obviously, the rivalry the Rangers had with them back in the 8 to 12 range. So I didn't really like Ovechkin, but you just got to appreciate greatness, especially in an opponent. He's just a great player. So 24 goals per year on a 3-year deal, he gets it. He's easily going to get that,
Yeah. The thing I didn't like about Ovechkin when he first came in was when he was just like throwing his body around and he left his feet a lot. I don't know, when I was younger, I remember Coach Ed was talking about that. And when I was like first learning to hit and stuff like that, I guess. So I remember that sticking out, but I always appreciated his highlight reel and the way he was able to, obviously the infamous or famous sliding goal on his back and things like that. Yeah. So you'll never forget things like that. So, I mean, he obviously was a big part of growing the game as well, right? If it wasn't for Ovechkin and Crosby, the NHL wouldn't be where it is today. That's for sure. And especially in Russia and, Europe and things like that. So he obviously played a huge role.
Yeah, you guys keep mentioning this Crosby guy. Never heard of him, but yeah, like, you know, with the physicality, it is pretty impressive. He used to be, if he wasn't getting the opportunities, I mean, as somebody who watches him a lot, he wasn't getting the opportunities that he wanted. He would just start cannonballing around, and yeah, that got him into trouble. Did some knee on knee, but honestly, that's kind of DC hockey. We play on an edge. I think we always have. We had Dale Hunter, and maybe you guys like that against the Islanders, but that was definitely kind of a scumbag move. But it's kind of a little bit of a mix into our identity. But now in the new NHL, things are a lot more clean. I think he's adjusted to the game really well. Obviously, he's lost a step, but he's the type of guy that if you're within 10 feet and he wants to hone you in, like, you're not escaping that, some piece of hitting him. So I definitely think that that's a great part of his game. I think that's why, you have guys that can reach those goal maximums, and they can go out and they can bury the puck, and they're sneakier players, or maybe they're a little bit more finesse. I think, when we talk about, kind of like Gordie Howe and those archetypes that are both physical and can bury and still have like the classic power forward kind of mentality. Ovechkin's one of the later greats, I would say. We got Tom Wilson too. I think that he falls under, a power forward type archetype, but they're few and far between anymore. It's the game's more about skill, more about passing, more about speed at this point. So it's kind of cool to see, what could be considered just a hardworking, antiquated play style still working out for us. So I love it, man. Can't say enough good things.
Speaking of dirtbags, you brought up Tom Wilson.
Yeah, St. Thomas right here.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is that thing? What do you got?
I photoshopped that. It's just like it's St. Thomas, like a card, and like put his face on it.
Oh, you made that?
Yeah, I
That's
made
pretty
it.
funny.
Yeah, my girlfriend had it printed on like a sheet that I could hang up. So.
Yeah, so Tom Wilson, 30 years old, gets a 7-year extension, $6.5 million a year, take him through age 38. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, you like Tom Wilson, I'm assuming, right?
Love it. I think it's a team-friendly deal on top of it. I think a lot of people were saying that it's, that's too much term, it's too much money. This is a guy that we're looking at, for all indications of the team and the players in the locker room are saying, Tom Wilson's going to be the next captain after Ovi's out, right? So we're looking at 3-4 years of him as captain, at least into his 30s. We're getting his prime years. I think that Tom Wilson definitely has the ability to eclipse the 30 goal mark. He just needs to stay healthy. I think that he adds just a huge fear factor when he's just out there on the ice, and that makes a difference. He just creates space, right? He's an elite skater, and I don't know if you guys played hockey. Obviously, Coach Ed, I'm sure you guys played a little bit of hockey and contact hockey, but I think that people who haven't, who are maybe more casual fans or new to the game, don't realize the amount of skating ability it takes to really hit properly and hit well and not hurt yourself, and take the man out of position, stay on your feet, and get back in the play, right? I think Tom Wilson does that expertly. He's got a nose for the puck in front of the net. When I heard the number, I thought he was going to get I was afraid, because I was like, if he asks for 8, I think the Caps will do it. They might cut his term a little bit, but we're already a cap strap team. So I was happy to see the 6.5, and I like the term and everything. And honestly, he's probably going to get another contract after this one, I would think, again, barring any acts of God in the sense of injury lists.
You think he'll get a contract at 38 years old?
I think he might. He might.
Yeah. I must be missing something. I don't see him being a hockey legend, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
I mean,
man.
I'm not saying I wouldn't take. I'm not saying I wouldn't take him on my team, and I don't see him as, unless he changes a little bit of his, let's call it, game structure. I don't see him being the captain. I see more TJ Oshie possibly, but that's just from the outside looking in.
Yeah, how much term is left on TJ?
Yeah, I think that the term on TJ is not going to work out with the leadership that's there.
He's got 2 years left for TJ, and he's already 36.
Yeah, no,
Well, he's 36 already.
Yeah,
He's been in the league for a long time.
Yep.
All right, so there goes my theory on that.
Trust me, it's Tom Wilson. It'll be Tom Wilson, and of course
Okay.
that's the tripe, right? The trope. I'm sorry, is that Tom Wilson he got paid a lot, that contract's going to age badly, and whatever. As the cap is going to raise, I think that we're going to see huge bumps in the cap in the next 4 or 5 years. I think that that's unavoidable, and I think the owners are just going to have to eat it. And by the time his contract ends, I would love to see the cap damn near $100 million a year. I think that that's somewhat realistic, raising a few mil every year. So I think that honestly, they're just keeping up with inflation when it comes to it. So
they've been saying that for a long time. I hope you're right. We need it too. Yeah. So it's not just the Capitals,
Dude, I just don't think that the players are gonna, it's every time a CBA renewal comes out, right? It's just a big thing, and then the owners are always stingy as hell, and then the players kind of well, hey, we want like healthcare and stuff and like all the little things. But ultimately, with the TV deal that the NHL signed and with the amount of revenue and games that are still going to be coming through, man, I really think that the owners are going to be out on their asses at one point, and we're going to get a good bump. And I think it's going to be pretty steady, at least for the league. I think the NHL is on the come. Look at the guys that are coming in the league. I think that we're going to be NHL's going to be in really good place. But I was saying, sorry, full circle. The trope is, of course I'd love, you always got to give the coach Ed, you said, of course I'd love him on my squad. Right. But what, not for 6.5, not for the term. Come on. You would do it.
I'm not talking about the dollar value. Anybody would take him for that. He is a valuable commodity for sure. I just don't see him playing past 38 years old. Again, I could be wrong.
Well, he'll be what? He's 29 now. He just
I
signed.
thought he said he was 31.
No, he's 30.
29. Yeah, so he won't be 30 yet. He'll be like 36, 35, 36-ish.
So this is you're right. He is 29. But this is his age 30 year per the league. So this is his last year of his contract, and then he's got 7 more years. So he's really signed for 8 more years, technically.
Okay.
So he'll be 37.
He'll be 37. Well, I got to ask, when that whole Wilson Panarin thing happened, he body slammed Panarin, and it kind of like killed the Rangers rebuild, like that. Like it was kind of like it was like the I feel like the Rangers rebuild was in season 1, and Tom Wilson like Ned Starked the Rangers rebuild a little bit with that, because it just completely changed.
Literally, it forced Dolan to fire everyone.
Everyone got fired. They had to get all this grit. They bought all the veterans. I mean, we still have some of the young guys, and I'm still, hopeful for that. But they no longer were rebuilding after that. They were like, all right, time to win, time to get serious. Get Revo, So like, I mean, that was super dirty. Come on, like I gotta hear your thoughts on that play.
No, you're not gonna like hearing my thoughts, but
no, I want to hear it.
Okay, all right. So Panarin comes into this after. Now, okay, Tom, I think that the big thing was on Buchnevich. I think that you guys shouldn't be, titty whining over Panarin. I think you guys should be defending Buchnevich, who was on the ground and started kicking. Nobody saw it on TV, but after the replays came out, he's kicking the goalie. All right, Tom Wilson sees that and starts hitting him on the ground. All right, I think that's somewhat,
iconic,
a little scummy. I'll give it borderline scummy. All right, but then he gets up, and then Panarin decides to come in after things are settling down and jumps on his back. Like, what do you want him to do? You just jumped on a much bigger man, a much meaner man, and you're just expecting that because you got long hair and you're 150 and you can put the puck in the back of the net that he's not going to take you off his back? I mean, come on. You do that in beer league, you're going to get beat up.
Well, he shaved his head now, so we might be making a comeback at Wilson this year. We'll see what happens.
I just hope nobody gets hurt.
And I don't think Coach Ed would disagree with you and defend Bushnevich at all, so you don't have to worry about that.
No, he's saying he's saying we should defend Bushnevich.
I know, and I'm saying Coach Ed's not going to, so we can move past it.
Right. Fair enough.
I mean, I get what you're saying there, Troll Man, but if you watch a guy like, there's a way to go about it with a somewhat classy way. If you watch Ryan Reeves play, if that happens with Ryan Reeves, he just laughs at him and maybe just pushes him away. He could have really hurt him.
Of course.
That's how I look at it. There's things he could have did to make a point, say you have to be kidding me. But then what he did, he took it to an extreme, and he could have really hurt him. Was Tom Wilson going to get really hurt by Panarin jumping on his back? No.
He could.
He didn't jump and cross-check him in the neck. He didn't do anything where he could have hurt him. So I get the frustration of Tom Wilson, but that's just something that's uncalled for, in my opinion. That was a Dave Schultz kind of move from the 70s.
Things got out of hand, but can we just rewind it real quick? Right now, we're calling Ryan Reeves the pinnacle of sportsmanship, and we're putting.
I didn't say that, but he's not going to fight a guy.
You came close, Coach. Coach, you came close, just real close to that.
I'm not saying they're compared in skill or hockey talent or their contract, obviously. But as far as being the tough guy on the team, and I will also say when Reeves came to the Rangers, Wilson hid in the corner. But anyway.
Hey,
he could have went at it a little bit more classy. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do anything, but that was a dirty play.
I wouldn't say that it's a clean play, absolutely. But am I going to vilify? Well, and the worst part was, come on, the Rangers made such a big deal out of it, posting that. What was it, the whole statement after the game, like these unbelievable acts of violence, and then it really played optic-wise, at least for me as a hockey fan, it really played very well into the Hockey Troll brand. So I loved it. I'll take it as long as but here's the thing, guys. Did anybody actually get hurt long-term in any of this?
No, without a doubt. But you can't predict that.
The Rangers rebuild did.
Panarin's never been the same.
Hey, somebody's pride was hurt. The guys got tossed around. It happens. It happens in hockey.
Come on, Panarin hasn't scored a power play goal since.
We broke Panarin and we ruined the franchise. Is that real? You brought me on to just scapegoat the Washington Capitals to say thanks.
We're just having a discussion. Don't take offense to it.
That's why it's a rivalry tour.
Sure, no, but if you want to give me that credit, I'll take it.
No, the thing is that when that happened, there was an entire segment of Twitter and online discussions about how the Capitals broke the Rangers. So that's why I figured it was worthy of time. I don't personally feel that way. I think the Rangers themselves broke the Rangers, including James Dolan. But I mean, what Wilson did there was, like there's playing on the edge. Right. Like I like that too. We all played. Oh, yeah. Playing on the edge is important. Like to us, Jacob Trouba plays on the edge. He never gets suspended. He's never suspended, never gets even a penalty for any of these hits that everyone says are so violent. Never even gets a penalty. That's playing on the edge. And then there's just dirty, and like that's what I think of like Brad Marchand and like Tom Wilson. Like those guys are just dirty players. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Well,
but yeah,
we can find a middle ground here, and I'll say during the when tensions were running high during that play, I think that lines were crossed. Lines were crossed. We'll just keep it at that. We won't say who crossed lines. All right, lines were crossed. But and here's another thing. I love Jacob. I like Trouba. I think he's awesome. I think that a lot of the hits, there's nothing there, and people are just outraged because you lowered the boom on a guy with his head down. And I know that the league is increasingly trying to take the onus off of the puck handler, the man with possession. But and in a perfect bubblegum world, that would be great where everybody's, got full control of their body. But there are reasons why high sticking penalties, all of these penalties that we have in hockey, there's many stick infractions, many body infractions that you can, assess on a penalty. It's because you're in the Thunderdome, man. There's no out of bounds. This is hockey. You're going fast. You're going faster than you've ever ran before, and you're going to be zooming around there, and these guys are going even faster than you. Things happen quick, and was it, hey, I'm going to take this guy's head off? I don't believe so. I don't believe any NHLer goes out there. I think there's a mutual respect, maybe sometimes, hey, we're going to take somebody's head off. Right? That's okay. But at night in, night out, I think that's kind of, guys want to make their money. They want to stay playing hockey. They don't want to hurt people. So when I look at Trouba's hits, I think, hey, the way that the rule book's written, if the NHL was truly, truly serious about cutting down on these types of injuries, they would say any head contact period is a 5-minute major. Any head contact period. Your shoulder glances off somebody's body and hits into his head, sorry. But next time, I don't know, try to edge him off against the boards. If they really wanted to make a stand here, I think the NHL would do something. But they haven't. So
I don't think the PA is going to go for anything like that. So I think we're in good hands there, hopefully.
Right. And I don't think that that's a necessary thing. I like seeing the hits. Obviously, I think that the big hits get a lot of hype anymore. But, post 2005, that was hockey every time. I mean, God, look at Scott Stevens. You remember that guy?
Yeah.
I mean, the living.
No, we
well,
agree with you
certain
on
hits
that.
like that shouldn't be in the game anymore. But certain
Of
hits
course.
like Trouba throws, that's a different story.
Right.
But I guess getting back to more current events, Capitals, your aging core. I guess obviously Backstrom, Kuznetsov, everyone, Carlson, they're all getting a little older.
Yep.
How do you foresee? What do you foresee happening? I guess this year and then moving forward in terms of Ovechkin's contract, right?
Yeah, right. And I think that the OV contract is really kind of where if depending on what Ovechkin does, he leaves, he stays. I think that that's going to be the breaking point as to when the core starts to go away that we see now, that we know and love now, right? Backstrom coming back off of the hip surgery. He just came out in the press and said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I feel 100%. I'm not in pain. Reports were coming out last year after the surgery was done that he couldn't even, spend time with his family. He could barely tie his own shoes. He had his, other people tying shoes for him. He could barely bend over. And to see a guy like that push through for years, you come back out of it and you have a big respect for that guy. I think that in our own fan base, there's been a lot of, Backy's washed now, it's over. And, I don't think those people are real fans of this core, because you're not going to give a guy less than half a year. I mean, you got to give him at least a full year to figure it out. He had a hip surgery that, only one or two professional athletes have come back and been impact players from. You got to give him a chance. You got to give it to him. So, but even a half speed Backstrom is still a 50-point guy. So, okay, he's making a little bit more, and he's on the tail end of his contract. He's got a little bit of an extension, but his contract expires 1 year before Ovi's. It's not the end of the world. And as, again, the cap rises, I think that it's going to be more palatable. Kuznetsov, Carlson, just like every number one defenseman on any team, John Carlson makes mistakes and then gets castrated for it. I don't think I think he's still, a top defenseman in the league. You have a guy out there eating 27 minutes a night. He's going to make mistakes, but what's the net positive here? And he's generally a net positive. Crazy freak accident last year, getting hit in the head with a puck where his whole ear was sheared off. He had a skull fracture. Crazy. That's a complete freak accident. And then you have guys who are healthy, like Mantha and Kuznetsov, who really, I think that the season is going to, if they can return to form and Mantha can actually show that he's the guy that he should be, I think the Washington Capitals offense is going to be in really good shape. I think that we're going to have fourth liners and third liners plugged in from Hershey. I think Connor McMichael is going to have to nut up or shut up. He's had a lot of opportunities with the big team. He's had flashes of brilliance, so we know it's in there. He's got to show it. And I think that if not, I think that we part ways with him after this season. And I think that our bottom six, they're bottom six players. I think that they're going to be steady for us. The big thing that I think is going to be really interesting, and this is I'm really excited about this season covering the Caps, is they've got a brand new coach, young guy. Things that people have been railing for. Obviously, we've seen the old head Babcock drama. We've seen all these older coaches who are just getting, fired and hired all the time. The carousel continues. Well, the Washington Capitals have finally come out and said, we're going to bring this guy who's had success at every level, was Toronto's power play coach last year. We're going to give him the head coach job. He's been a head coach before. Let's get him in there. The press has been cut off from a lot of things, I think. But training camp starting and preseason starting. So we'll see what kind of product they put out there.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of points there. So let's just take it a little bit in order. So Nicholas Backstrom, I'm just curious, quickly, there's a lot of people who don't watch the Capitals daily. Like, we don't. So we look at Backstrom and, he's obviously a great setup man, but we're kind of like, oh, is he a little bit of product of Ovechkin, or is Ovechkin not Ovechkin without him? Or is it, just individual? Let's say it's not Alex Ovechkin who's been riding his shotgun his whole career, but it's, just a good player, a good player. What are your thoughts on Nicholas Backstrom as a player?
I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, even without that, right? So
yeah, I think that he could go in and put pedestrian numbers in for the rest of his career and still be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, if we're talking about the full body of work, he's got the cup. That's always, I don't think it's right, but I think that that's a big boost in direction. He's got over 1,000 points. I mean, how do you not, right? The guy's had enough. Do I think that Ovechkin could have been just as good without him? Yes. But did Backy help? Absolutely. In the past couple years, man, and it's been like 5 years, Kuznetsov has been playing on that top line with Ovi. So,
okay.
They go out on the power play and he's on the opposite wing. So, yeah. So, Backy's feeding John Carlson up on the point. So it's really, that's, which is important. Obviously you gotta have that good first pass when you want to make something happen. But, Backy was always feeding Mike Green, Sandin, John Carlson, so I think really it's just those two players would have been great wherever they went, and let's say they weren't even with the Caps. I think that Backstrom would have had the same career. And I think obviously Ovi would have too.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. So I guess then
And
the
plus
next point, go ahead, Coach.
Plus the TV commercial was one of the best I've ever seen. So
Yeah. That's great.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So
Ovi's
you
been in
mentioned
a lot of good commercials.
Yeah. Ovi is a funny dude. He's definitely a good personality. But you mentioned the coach, Spencer Carberry from Toronto. He obviously replaced Laviolette, right, who the Rangers hired. So we got to get your take on Laviolette, what went wrong with the Capitals, and kind of if the Rangers get the same coach, because, coaches change, and we're not saying he's going to be exactly the same as he was in Washington. But, what should we expect from Laviolette?
I think I was team Laviolette before, when they were looking, because it was like him and Gallant were the two main guys that they were talking to, or at least who we thought were actually guys who had a shot. I'm pretty sure they talked to Halpern back then too, but I was team Lavi all the way, and I still am. I think that Laviolette is a good coach. I think that he holds players accountable on the defensive end, and he likes bulk shots. Not to mention, if you look at his track record, he's a guy that takes teams to a final and has won them once, but, takes them to a final within 2 years, 3 years. So sometimes the exact year that he gets hired. So I think that for a team that is win now, like the Washington Capitals were 3 years ago, I think that he's a no-brainer pick. What's going to crack me up is that here in DC, so we got a little abused, I think, the fan base by Barry Trotz, and I abuse is a strong word because again, I love Barry Trotz. I wish we would have just gave him more money, but it was mid contract and Leonsis never, he's just, I'm a businessman. So he doesn't want to, give people more money, even though you just brought the very first cup to the city ever, right? After 40 years, right? He's still, Barry Trotz was a guy who said the NHL is not a development league. The guys who come and play on my teams are bona fide NHL talent, and they're proven that way. And then they have to prove it night in and night out. So that was Barry Trotz. Caps fans were, even though they gave him the cup, even though he got a cup, even though all this happened, that was a big knock on Barry Trotz. I really didn't think that the Caps had anything in their pipeline that proved that they could come in. I thought Verana was a streaky player. I love the guy, but I think he was a streaky player. And if you're going to hang your hat solely on burying goals, you better bury goals pretty consistently. And if you're not going to be a guy who's back checking, you're not going to be a defensive, stalwart, and you're going to hang your hat on burying goals, and then that dries up, you really are kind of, need to be moved out of town, right? You find a different place where that style fits you. So with that, moving to Laviolette, I think that our fan base was still like, oh, well, this coach, he won't play young players. And again, I don't think that the Washinton Capitals had a lot in their pipeline that was NHL ready. I thought that they were good to bring up for a handful of games. I thought that they, give the kids a shot on games that don't matter. Let them get, let them gas them up a little bit, so they can go back down to the A and talk to the boys and say, oh yeah, dude, the locker room's sick. Like you won't believe the food we ate, like all that stuff, right? That's all good stuff. But as far as a full-time NHLer, when you have studs like Ovechkin and Backstrom and a top six that is solidly there, are you really going to bench a guy who's holding a cap hit of $3 to $7 million a year and let some guy, they're completely healthy, of course, just healthy scratch a guy that's commanding that cap hit over a guy who's on an entry level? I don't think any coach in the NHL would do that. You're just going to get crapped on by your GM. Like, what are you doing here? Right. So, when it comes to Lavi, I think that he's still a viable option with, a team that needs to win within the next couple years. What I will say is that in DC, he got hit with the worst hand that you could get as a coach, right? He comes in, things are going okay. COVID for a year and a half. So by the time year 3 started, this is like the first time he could have a full camp. This is the first, he's really getting it all together here. First quarter of the season, we get major injuries, big players, Backstrom, Carlson, Guy Oshie. We lost so many man games last season with, the top with 40 million. I think at one point was our cap hit that was on the bench. Like half the cap was on the bench with injuries. Then last year I saw some really strokes of like some great synergy amongst the young guys that we had to fill in with in like December, and then January guys started coming back, and I think people let off the gas, and we had a real miserable January, February, and then at trade deadline we shipped off Orlov, who's a number 1 defenseman I think in the league. He was a number 2, number 3 guy for us, and we shipped off Garnet Hathaway, who was a big piece of that fourth line. We were done. The owner management said, look, Lavi, you got these guys, make it happen. If you make the playoffs, it'll be an absolute feat, but we're not going to support you. We're not going to load up. So those 3 years for Lavi have to just the most challenging. So hopefully he comes out on the other side. He's going to play your young guys. He's got no option, and your young guys are studs. So why wouldn't he? And I'm just can't wait to see a bunch of youngins playing on the Rangers and, be able to tweet to all these haters that are like, oh, imagine that, Laviolette playing young NHL ready talent, right?
Tell us how you really feel there, Troll.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point, because one thing I'm concerned about is, is he going to be a guy who doesn't play young talent? And I don't mean like the Kakos and Heedles and Laffies are already up, but like a guy like Will Cooley or Brennan Othman trying to make their way onto the team, is he going to play those guys eventually? I think it's an open question, but we'll see, I guess. I mean, it's good to hear your perspective that he didn't do that in Washington because there really wasn't anything there, right? So that's interesting to at least give some perspective to it. So we'll see.
And the thing is that he did play young guys who were ready. And if you look at the blue line, Martin Faviari, who was going into his sophomore season when Lavi came in, he's full-time NHLer. We gave
I'm so glad you
Alexiev
said his name first because I was going to bring him up, but I'm like, I don't know how to say that, so I'm just going to let.
Faviari, yeah. And then we've got Alexiev, who's a young guy too. He had he played a lot of games last season. So people just got the blinders on. They're idiots. So you got to deal with that every walks of life, right?
Coach, you got any questions about Laviolette or coaching in general before we move on?
No, I was glad to hear that. And, just from a coach's point of view, he had to know that it was the beginning of the end. They're not stupid. They hear rumors, too, inside the organization. But I've always liked him when he was with the Islanders. I thought he did a great job. He obviously won the Cup in Carolina. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard a couple of his interviews so far and his press conferences, and I like what he's saying. But, we'll see what the actions show.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a guy who's going to, win you over with charisma, don't look at Laviolette.
No, he's very monotone and very matter of fact.
It's funny because Lavi played – I'm in Wheeling, West Virginia, and we got the Nailers here. So Lavi played for Wheeling and then retired as a player because he was not that great of a player, and then took the Wheeling Nailers over for 1 year, and just happened so that one of the old guys is still here, Stefan Brenner. He played for the Nailers for a long time, Swedish guy, real cool. We had him on and asked him about like what was Lavi like. He was like, from an early get-go, like Lavi was the type of guy who was cool. He would go out with the boys, have like a beer, go home, and then be able to like be personable with you. But when you hit the ice, everybody knew he was the boss, right? So he really managed the personalities really well from, his beginning, his first year ever coaching pro was the feedback that we got. Now, obviously guys change, things get different. They age, they learn, hopefully. But from Stefan Brenner's mouth, he said, hey, he's a good guy, definitely an awesome coach, and had nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, you wouldn't think Lavi's one of those player coaches, right? You would think he's more of a autocratic type authoritarian, but it's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, I could definitely see him. I like that he seems like a good mix of a player's coach and, like you said, authoritative, whatever, and holding players accountable. It's definitely a good mix. Coach Ed's like that too, in a way, right, Coach? So.
Well, I think that, like you said before, that you're at that level, you're expected to play at that level. You should, if you're not going to play at that level, you're going to be benched. Takes a lot of balls to do that. It's not an easy thing to do, but you have to make a statement. I've taken some players aside and say, look, I did a Herb Brooks a few times where I say, look, I'm going to pick on you. I'm going to do this. Just take it. I have to set an example, at that level, there are a lot of egos. It's a lot more difficult, of course. But if you're going to win, everybody's got to buy in. And somebody like Rod Brindamore doesn't take anything less than that either. And he's one of the best coaches out there right now. I always compare everybody to his style, and he just doesn't take anything. He'll go out there and put the skates on and beat you up.
Love Rod the Bod, man. Love Rod the Bod for sure.
I mean, Laviolette isn't going to be moving that good anymore, but obviously he's got that little bit of a belly, I noticed. But he knows what to expect. He knows what should be done, and you better do it.
Absolutely. Yep.
I hope he stays with it.
Absolutely.
Troll, I got one more question for you before we get your expectations for this season. I saw a lot of rumors swirling around that Kuznetsov wanted a trade or is demanding a trade. There's always something with this guy, isn't there? Always some dramas around him. How do you feel about
You know,
that?
and I mean, what a player he is, right? I mean, he just makes it look so effortless.
It seems like a waste because of all the drama he always carries around.
That's because there is no effort.
See, that's the thing. I don't know. Maybe it isn't, but I think I've played with guys like that who just make it look so easy that you think, why can't you just do that every play? But he's come out and said, maybe people think make it look easy, but it's still hard as hell to play in the NHL, right? So with Kuzi, yeah, I mean, obviously the drug thing, he went through some stuff, right? I don't think I can knock him too hard. It didn't affect the Caps with that, other than mean tweets. So when it comes to Kuznetsov, I think that this team, the Washington Capitals, really lives and dies on Kuznetsov, right? He's a huge piece. He's your 1 or 2 center. So if you don't have that 1-2 punch in the NHL, you're kind of dead in the water. I think that the worst part, the worst line to play on as if you're a forward in the NHL is the third line, because you can't give up anything and you're still expected to contribute, a decent amount to the offense. But the first and second lines, once you're there, it's hard to bring guys in and out of that. Kuznetsov has still been there. I think that he can be, all of the reports that I've seen is that, he's on board with Carberry. He didn't really like Laviolette because they wanted him to back check and play defense and other stuff. He didn't get the good vibe from him, whatever. Right. So, if there's a guy, hey, if there's a guy who's not going to play defense, and again, he puts in 90 points, this happens, right? I don't know. I mean, I guess the biggest comparable would be like a Panarin, even though I think he's a little bit better defensively, but are you really going to trash Panarin for, going -2 in a game, but having 4 points?
Yes.
Come on,
Coach Ed will.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have those games, right? These star players are going to have those games, but I will say with Kuznetsov, I think that his party and the Washington Capitals have either kept the off-ice drama to a minimum, and the other players have said, hey, Kuzi, you got to figure it out, because you can't be coming late to team meetings and get suspended, a team suspension. You can't be doing that anymore. Obviously you can't be doing illicit substances in off days. Not a good thing either. So I hope that, I hope that he didn't have a really big problem with it, and that, he's going to be okay moving forward. And again, it's, are you going to get the superstar Kuzi, or are you going to get, bum Kuzi who's feeling bad about himself? We've had Carl Alsner on, who's played with him before he left for Montreal. And he said, Evgeny Kuznetsov is just that guy that needs to be having fun every day, all day, right? He just needs to always be having the best time. And if he's not having fun, you're not going to be able to get the best out of him. So that's really what I'm hoping Kuznetsov does. He finds the joy in the game again, and can really put in, I would love an 80-point season out of him.
Has he even ever had an 80-point season? Maybe one.
I think he's come close.
Yeah, I think he's had one.
Yeah.
But he's always got some kind of drama.
There's something. And the whole thing with the trade, who knows if that's real? He's talking to Russian media. I mean, do you trust Russian media?
We hear a lot of it with Panarin and everything, for sure.
Yeah, and what are they saying about Panarin?
He had a gun in a public place or something.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. He's a miscreant. He's a hoodlum. He's poor. Because Panarin came from not a very wealthy family like Ovechkin. He's low class. He's out here trashing Putin because he's a bad guy and he's just the dregs of humanity, right? I feel like a lot of these Russian outlets have the story written before they even talk to the guy. They might not even ever talk to him. And all of this, funny enough, wasn't a Kuznetsov direct quote. It was through his agent, who is friends with Kuznetsov, and all this weird Russian drama. Until it's a U.S. AP press source where Kuzi comes out and says "F the Caps, I want out," then I don't believe it. So
because you can. There's no other there's no other avenue you could trust more than the U.S. press.
Right. Well, we'll go that far, but
I have to agree with you. I mean, Russia in itself, I think since the beginning they were always bitter about the guys who defected. They were bitter that they wanted to come and play in the NHL. They wanted to take money from the players to let them go. They were paid cash in duffel bags to from the get-go. It's been a total shit show. And I wouldn't trust anything they're doing. They want to make us look bad. They want to make the players look bad for coming here. I agree with you on that. But obviously he does have some issues, but they're probably blowing it, way out of proportion.
Sure. I mean, no doubt he's had his issues, but he's the guy we're stuck with. The problem is that even if he did want to trade, what were the Caps going to get in return?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you name me a bona fide 1-2 center that we could just straight up for Kuznetsov with?
You'd get futures. You wouldn't get anything like that.
Right. With trade stock that's so low right now, coming off a career worst season, good luck getting traded, man. You're gonna go to like Edmonton or something, and
Arizona might take him.
Score 50 goals with McDavid.
Right. Hey, maybe, but I don't know. I think that and who doesn't want to play with Ovi if you're Russian, man? I mean, this guy is a legend.
Sure.
His top 4 seasons are 77 points, 83, 72, and 78.
Oh, he's a player. He's a player. He can do it.
All right, so give us your expectations for the Caps this year. You seem mildly optimistic despite, really what the majority of people think about the state of the Caps right now. So just curious, you think they're battling for a wild card? Are they a bubble team? Are they out completely? Are they a contender? Where are you at with them?
I knew this question was going to come up and I thought about it. I'm such a homer, obviously I think you guys are Rangers homers. I'm looking at your backgrounds. You guys like the Rangers, I think, right?
I'd like to think we're a little realistic though. We try to be.
Fair enough. But I think that the Rangers are securely a playoff team. Absolutely. Right.
That's why we're able to be realistic at the moment.
Of course. I think that the Washington Capitals will come out the gate and be absolute dog shit. I think that I think the first 20 games are going to be rough. And I think it's going to be because new coach, new players, whatever's happening. Wilson's on a new contract. What's Backstrom going to do? There's going to be a lot of unknowns. But the sneaky move that, dude, we got Max Pacioretty for like $1 million this year. I think that you add Max Pacioretty to any team and it's going to be a boost. He's recovering from this Achilles. Things are going well. He came back too early for Carolina. And when he came back too early for Carolina, he had like 3 goals in 2 games. So I like this. I think that after that 20 games elapses, I think that once we get Pacioretty in the lineup, I'm looking for big seasons from Dylan Strome, looking for big season from Sonny Milano. I'm looking for our defense to be pretty good. I'm looking for better seasons out of our goaltending. Kemper wasn't bad. Lindgren's not bad. And then we have this stud that we've been hiding away, Hunter Shepard, who's been getting some playing time in the preseason, who just won the Calder Cup in Hershey, right? So I think that we've got things in the mix. I think defensively we're going to be good. I think that offense, if the offense can counteract any fumbles from the D, and our goaltending is solid, I think that we're a playoff team. I think probably a wild card or last Metro Division spot. Boys, the Metro is the best division in hockey.
Yeah, I mean the Atlantic is pretty good now. I don't know. That might not be the case this year.
I don't care. The Atlantic sucks. The Metro is all right. The Metro year in and year out. Think about it. Though. Like, we had, the Atlantic last year. You had the Bruins going on a tear out in the first round. Like, come on. We're looking at, you can't count the Penguins out. You can't count the Caps out. That's 2 teams. And then you got the Rangers, Jersey, and the Carolina Hurricanes all in win now mode.
And the Islanders are always tough too. So
right. And the Islanders can play upset, right? They can play ruiner for a lot of teams in this division. It's the hardest division in hockey. It's the best division in hockey. I'll live and die by that until we have.
I don't know. We had Sean on from the Islanders hockey night in New York, and he talks like Barzal and Horvat are going to be like Backstrom and Ovechkin.
Yeah.
What, Stanley Cup champions? Yeah, right.
No, scoring 50,
on the island.
60 scoring 60 goals, and Barzal's one of the best playmakers in the league when he's healthy. I'm like, I don't know what you're watching, but
And Bo Horvat.
Poor Sean gets the ricochet shots even when he's not on.
Yeah, Sean is very optimistic about the island. Well, he's very sad about the Islanders not having like a superstar other than their goalie.
Right.
And he's like, why can't Horvat or Barzal can be that? And I'm like, no, dude. Like they're stars. They're stars, but
and
they're not superstars.
Lou Lamoriello. So Islanders Never Say Dies, Grumpy Old Man and TJ, they're on the network, and we talk to them all the time. I don't know if you guys know them, but they trashed Lamoriello. They trashed Trotz. So I had to go on there and just like fight for my life and be like, I'm not going to stand for any Barry Trotz slander on this podcast.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But Lamoriello, and they have a point. This dude only gets vets in, and then they have seasons, and then you paid a boatload, and you're not really developing. You're not getting anybody. You're thinking you're win now when you're really like 5 years away from win now. You've got guys maybe coming up that you could get.
Yeah.
I'm
with you on that.
So I don't know. I mean, Bo Horvat, and again, Bo Horvat's the latest example of a veteran going to the Islanders because Lamoriello has a hard on for him or whatever, and who knows what he does. Yes, he was great in Vancouver, a place that he played forever. He was coming from being a captain, right? And then going to the Islanders, and now you're just run of the mill. Hopefully you're going to be able to clean up Barzal's garbage. I don't know.
I mean, look, I feel like everybody that we've spoken to, so the Devils, I think everyone agrees the Devils and Hurricanes are likely the top two seeds in the Metro. And then everyone else is like, oh, we could contend for the third spot. The Penguins fans think that. The Islanders fans think that. Your Capitals. So everybody's thinking that third spot is open. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's the Rangers to lose.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, look at your lineup. If healthy, you made a good point about the injuries. If healthy, it is a pretty deep lineup down the middle, with Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Strome, Dowd. And then your D, you have 6 NHL defensemen. They're all pretty good. They all have different skill sets. And, I mean, you never know. You always got Ovechkin and Wilson, too. So, if healthy, crazier things have happened. But, all right. So, give us your fantasy hockey sleeper. I don't know if you play fantasy hockey. But who's a sleeper from the Capitals for fantasy hockey this year?
Oh, from the Caps. A sleeper.
Yeah, so who's someone people are, not Ovechkin, whatever. Somebody like on the team. You mentioned some kid earlier, maybe something like that. Like somebody that people should draft late from the Caps that I think will have a good year.
I think in your draft, and again, especially if they don't watch the Caps, I think that Dylan Strome is a guy who's going to fly under the radar, and he's going to have a sneaky good season this next season. And I'm talking like, I think 50 points is easy. I think 70 points is probably more realistic. That's what I would love to see from Dylan Strome. Him and Sonny Milano have some chemistry. They're younger. He's only like 25. I love Dylan Strome for the future of the Caps. So I think that's a kid who's going to go late rounds. I think that they're only going to see a stat line from last year and pick him up in like, a really late round. So, I wouldn't say get Dylan Strome early, but a middle round, maybe be a nice little pickup.
All right, Dylan Strome, that's your fantasy sleeper pick. Yeah, I like that. We had a lot of conflict over Ryan Strome for years on this podcast, so always fun to talk about the Stromes.
Of course, right? Dynasty.
Sonny Milano, Long Island boy.
Yeah. Yep.
Sonny Milano with that trick play with Trevor Zegras. I always remember that.
Yep.
Curious what I don't know. I remember he was a first round pick in Columbus, like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Caps are great at reclaiming players who, because last year Sonny Milano went for PTO at Calgary, got cut.
Oof.
And we picked him up.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate your time. The hockey troll, the Mr. Anonymous over here at the Caps Chirp podcast. I love it. I like that Tom Wilson, what did he say? Is a blanket or a sheet or something behind you?
It's just a sheet. Yeah, it's a canvas.
Love that. Check him out at Caps Chirp on Twitter. Check him out on all the podcast platforms if you want to hear some Washington Capitals news. If not, then then don't. But check him out on Twitter for sure. They post good content, and it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, dude.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Good luck this
Great
season.
talk. Thank you.
We'll catch up during the year.
Absolutely.
All right, so that was the Hockey Troll with Caps Chirp. Great interview. I loved it. I honestly think the Capitals, I am not optimistic about their chances this year, but he's pretty optimistic. I'm a little shocked. I mean, he admitted he's a homer, though, so I'll give him that.
Well, he admitted that they're going to come out a little slow, so I think it's going to be hard for them to recover after that. So I think he kind of gave us the answer in the beginning, and then he had to give his fan-friendly answer towards the end.
It is true, though. They did lose last year. They had no Backstrom. Carlson was out with that skull fracture. Mantha was hurt. Wilson was hurt for a long time. That's a lot of injuries. If they stay healthy, they could compete. I think they could be a wild card contender. It's the goaltending.
Yeah, I was looking
Kemper.
at the lineup. No, sorry, I was looking at the lineup that you put on the outline, and I was kind of like, I mean, I guess they're a little older, which is the argument, but they're still, like you said, they're pretty good on paper.
Yeah, the D is pretty good. The D looks good to me. The goalies, oof. I mean, I like Charlie Ringerin as a backup, but I don't know about Darcy Kemper anymore.
I mean, Darcy Kemper won with Colorado, but you had Cale Makar getting
the Colorado team in front of him.
Listen, Alexander Georgiev had like 40 wins with Colorado. I don't care about anything any goalie does with Colorado. It means nothing.
A lot of it has to do with the system, and
the team in front of you.
That there are guys that don't want to play defense on the Caps. So if you don't have a superstar goal, you're in trouble right off the bat.
Right. Darcy Kemper had like an 880 save percentage in the Stanley Cup Finals and won in like 5 games. That's how good Colorado was that year. So I don't want to hear that. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I think the goaltending is going to be a problem for Washington, but I think they'll hang around in the bubble. I don't think they'll be like out like Philly or anything like that. I think they'll be right there, annoying teams competing right to the end of the year. We'll see. Unless injuries. But
Pacioretty's a question mark.
Huge question mark. Huge question.
Achilles tendon injuries, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I meant to ask him before we let him go. When is his due date or whatever back? Like,
his due date?
I couldn't think of his return date.
His return date.
He's back.
He wasn't on that lineup that Cuz sent.
He just went on his baby moon, so his due date's coming up.
When is he due to return back to the lineup?
No, his return date, I think he's out 2 months.
We're not forcing anything. We're not.
What was that?
Someone pressed play on their Instagram or something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Mikey can talk about. We talked about the Achilles, I think, last year when he got hurt, coming back too soon. So,
I mean,
I don't know, man.
As a hockey player, I would assume it's a little bit easier because you're not really pushing off your toes per se, like you would in like a running motion. It's more. Of
I got to disagree with you 100%. It's all about the pressure on the calf and
skating backwards. Definitely skating forwards, not as much, but skating backwards is a lot of calf.
When you're pushing off with your skates, you're starting on the heel and your toe is getting that last edge off. You have a lot of tension and pressure on your ankle and calves. I have to disagree with you with that. I mean, I just don't see him coming back full strength right away. First of all, mentally, he's got to be a little nervous.
Yeah, the ankles on the back skating is what gets me. It's tough. I don't know. We'll see with Pacioretty. I think it's just it's not a bad risk. They got him for $2 million AAV, only a 1-year deal. They're trying to win with this core one more time. He's a veteran. Why not?
I mean, they're kind of in the same boat as Pittsburgh, right? They have a lot of good core guys, and
I think they're a little worse off than Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh picks up Erik Karlsson,
well,
it's a little different. I think Pittsburgh is. I think Pittsburgh is like solidly a wild card. I could see them missing, but I think they're like solidly a wild card. And if they miss and they, they had some injuries or they screwed up. Washington, I feel like, is starting outside. And if they make it, I won't be surprised, but I don't know. I wouldn't start them in the playoffs. I guess we'll do our preview episode soon. The season starts.
I think the best way to put it is if Pittsburgh misses the playoffs, it's a huge disappointment for them. If Washington misses, I don't think they're really expecting.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a surprise. Yeah. But all right. Well, good episode. And we got more to come. We got training camp to talk about. So we'll reconnect and, go through where the Rangers are at in training camp and as we approach the start of the year.
I'm a little shocked at this rivalry tour by the fact that every guy we have on, they're realistic. They're realistic fans. He's a homer, but I think they're realistic. They don't just say, "Oh, this guy's great, that guy's great." They say there's question marks. They say this guy needs to do this.
Coach, it's only the best for you, Coach. We don't bring on the the trolls.
However you guys
was the troll. He was the troll.
Yeah, we did bring on the hockey troll. No, but I mean, look, every fan base has the worst of the worst like that. There's plenty of Ranger fans that are like that.
Well, I think we're not bringing on fans. Well, we are. They are fans, but they're also covering the team, so they have to be a little non-biased, like we are, as best as we can. Right?
Yep. Except against Hedel.
Except the doghouse right there.
All right, boys. Let's call it here.
One or two stops left in the rivalry tour before the season starts.
Oh, we do? All right, sweet. I didn't know that.
We got the Hurricanes on the schedule. That's the only one I have left. I didn't really think the Flyers was worth it this year. I guess we could do it.
Nah.
And
what are we gonna do?
It
would just be us making fun of them for the whole episode.
Yeah. Columbus, I didn't really try too hard either, so maybe we'll sneak it in, but we'll see. I think we got enough.
You don't
Hurricanes we've never done, so I think that'd be interesting.
With that Babcock situation, we don't need to talk about Columbus.
Yeah, we could skip those. We could skip those.
We'll give Columbus another rebuilding year to have them on maybe next year. All right, boys.
All right, boys. Till next time. I can't wait for the year.
Great job, boys.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Right back.